Hey chess fans! Today, we're diving into a super interesting opening, Alekhine's defense. This opening is not just any regular strategy, it's a bold and provocative way to challenge your opponent right from the start. Named after the legendary world champion Alexander Alekhine, this opening is all about challenging the traditional way of playing chess. Alekhine was known for his creative and aggressive style, and this defense reflects that perfectly. You see, most openings focus on controlling the center of the board right away. The center is considered the most critical part of the board, and most players aim to dominate it early on. But Alekhine's defense? It's all about being sneaky and provocative. Instead of going for the center directly, it invites white to overextend and create weaknesses. Imagine this, you're playing as black, and white opens with the classic 1e4, pushing their pawn to the center. This is one of the most common and strong opening moves for white. Now a normal response would be to fight for that center immediately, right? Most players would respond with a pawn move to e5 or d5 to challenge white's control. But Alekhine's defense says, nope, let's try something different. Instead of the usual pawn move, you bring out your knight. Instead of meeting white head-on, you tempt them forward with one knight to f6. This move is both surprising and strategic. This unexpected move throws white off balance and sets the stage for a unique and exciting game. It forces white to think differently and adapt, making the game more dynamic and unpredictable. The beauty of Alekhine's defense lies in its psychological impact. By moving your knight instead of blocking white's pawn, you're basically saying, come on in, the water's fine. But little does white know you're setting a trap. The idea is to lure their pawns forward, creating weaknesses in their position. As white gets tempted by the seemingly undefended center, they start pushing their pawns further and further. This overextension is exactly what you want. Remember, pawns are like soldiers marching forward. They can't move backward. Once white's pawns are overextended, they become vulnerable to attack, and you can exploit those weaknesses to gain the upper hand. Let's look at the typical starting moves in Alekhine's defense. 1. e4, knight to f6. This is the trademark move that defines the opening. Black immediately attacks white's e-pawn, but it's a veiled threat. 2. e5, knight to d5. White accepts the challenge and pushes their pawn further. Black's knight continues to harass the pawn, refusing to back down. These first few moves are crucial. They set the tone for the whole game. White has a few different options here, each leading to different variations of Alekhine's defense, but the main idea remains the same. Black wants to provoke white into overextending their pawns. Section 4. A different kind of control, mastering the center. One of the most common misconceptions about Alekhine's defense is that black gives up control of the center. This opening strategy often confuses beginners and even some intermediate players. While it's true that black doesn't occupy the center with pawns right away, they aim for a different kind of control through pressure. This pressure can be subtle but incredibly effective. Think of it like this. Instead of building a fortress in the center of the board, black creates a force field around it. This force field is dynamic and can adapt to the opponent's moves. Black's pieces, especially the knights, exert pressure on the center from the flanks. These knights are often the key to maintaining this indirect control. This indirect control can be just as effective as direct occupation, especially in the early stages of the game. Understanding this concept can significantly improve your strategic play. Section 5. Flexibility and counterattack. Unleashing the power of Alekhine's defense. Alekhine's defense is famous for its dynamic and flexible nature. Unlike other openings that follow rigid pawn structures, Alekhine's defense allows black to develop their pieces in various ways, adapting to white's moves. This adaptability is one of the opening's greatest strengths. As white pushes their pawns forward, they inevitably create weaknesses in their own camp. Black can exploit these weaknesses by launching swift counterattacks, hitting back with force just when white thinks they have the upper hand. This element of surprise is what makes Alekhine's defense such a dangerous weapon. Section 6. Overcoming challenges. Handling white's aggressive options. Of course, no opening is perfect, and Alekhine's defense has its challenges. One of the most common lines white can play is the 4 pawns attack, where they aggressively push their central pawns forward to gain maximum space. This attack can be quite dangerous if black isn't careful. However, there are ways to counter it. Black can use their pieces to put pressure on white's extended pawns, forcing them to defend instead of attack. Remember, even though white has more space, their pawns are vulnerable if they're too far advanced. Section 7. Alekhine's Defense. Your path to chess mastery. So why should you consider adding Alekhine's Defense to your chess arsenal? This opening is not just another move, it's a strategic weapon that can change the course of your game. Well, for starters, it's a fantastic way to surprise your opponents. The element of surprise can be a powerful tool in chess, catching your opponent off guard and giving you the upper hand. Most players are used to facing the standard openings, so when you hit them with Alekhine's Defense, it throws them off their game. This disruption can lead to mistakes and opportunities for you to capitalize on. But more importantly, Alekhine's Defense teaches you to think differently about chess. It encourages you to step out of your comfort zone and explore new strategies. It challenges you to be creative, to find unusual solutions, and to embrace a more dynamic style of play. This creativity can be the key to unlocking new levels of your chess potential. It's not just about memorizing moves, it's about understanding the underlying principles of provocation, counterattack, and flexibility. These principles are essential for mastering not just Alekhine's Defense but chess as a whole. I encourage you to study model games by Alekhine himself and other masters who have successfully employed this opening. Their games are a treasure trove of insights and strategies. Analyze their thinking, try to understand their plans, and see how they dealt with different situations. This analysis will deepen your understanding and improve your own gameplay. Practice makes perfect, and the more you play and analyze Alekhine's Defense, the more comfortable and confident you'll become wielding its power. Remember, mastery comes with dedication and continuous learning.